Welcome one and all to Big News Wednesday. Hey everybody, I'm Iadarola. That is Jayar Jackson. Jayar, thank you for being here.
What's going on, John? What's going on, TDR? How you guys feeling this morning?
I'm feeling this morning. So like sometimes, things just like develop. Like I don't even remember how Big News Wednesday started. It just all of a sudden was a thing. But sometimes things will just develop and then they have consequences that you couldn't have foreseen. Because we announced that it's Big News Wednesday every morning, that is now sort of like a road sign through the week for me. Like it's like halfway, or slightly less than halfway. But it also now, it feels like they occur 10 minutes apart, which reminds me every week how fast time passes, how fast life races past you. I feel like it's always Big News Wednesday.
It does seem that way, especially with all these kinds of news. But also, bro, I just want you guys to pause for a second. It is April 19th of 2023. It's April 19th of 2023. We're 4.5 months into this year, bro. I'm just gonna let you guys know how fast things are moving here. That's all. Just
the 2020 election was years ago.
COVID was crazy. 3 years ago when it started, at least.
And you walk around the studio and it looks like it's now, right now, and nothing has changed. Please, anyone, come to the studio. Well, not just anyone. Sometimes we have bad people come to the studio. Anyway, with that said, we do have a lot of big news. It is truly a Big News Wednesday. It is a historic defamation case resolution Wednesday. And that's just to start us off. We've got an insipid interview between Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk to wade through. We have to see what Elon Musk has to say because I will remind you, dear viewer, that he is one of the smartest people on the planet, or so I'm told. But anyway, updates on Dianne Feinstein, more tragic shootings, and if you missed the opportunity to get one of the Trump digital trading cards, don't you worry, he's making more of them. And that's just in the first hour of the show. In the aftermath, the Bud Light thing is still happening. John Fetterman trolls the right in a very fun fashion, and AI is coming for your pooch. So there's a lot to look forward to, everyone. In anticipation of all of that, though, please hit the like button, share the stream so people know we're live. And if you want to send us any comments, tweets, super chats, Jayar and I can respond. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a chuckle. If it is a funny enough comment or insightful enough, I will leave room for that as well. Then you might win a $100 Blue Apron gift card. So send those comments in and we'll respond as we go. But with all that said, Jayar, are you ready to start the show?
I think so, and there might be some issues. I won't get the Blue Apron gift card because I have thoughts about John Fetterman that maybe you guys aren't happy with.
You're gonna be banned from all future food delivery gift cards. Okay, well, we're gonna see about that. But first, we've got other news to get to, so keep your powder dry. Fox News and Dominion have settled in their massive $1.6 billion lawsuit. The lawsuit that could have been one of the biggest things in media news ever now is just what it already was, which is admittedly very big, as was the settlement. Fox News is gonna have to pay $787 million. That is by far the most that's ever been, received in a settlement like this. There have been a few others, for like 20 million or 90 million that were also paid by Fox News, by the way, and a few others besides. But that is a lot of money. That said, is it a lot of money for Fox News? Well, Fox Corp apparently had $4.1 billion cash on hand, according to Lachlan Murdoch back in February. The company is valued at more than $17.6 billion. So no, not really gonna be a bunch. Some people have estimated it as at around 7% of their yearly profits. So a lot of people are trying to figure out how to put this in other terms that people might understand. So I think I read that like to save the reputation of Sean Hannity, they paid for the equivalent of like 5 737s or something. Another way that you can put it into perspective is that $787 million is now the cost of doing business. That's what it is. That's all it is. The amazing thing, by the way, when you think about it, is they lied to their audience so that they would keep their audience, keep making money off of their audience, and they made so much money off of their audience that now they can easily pay the settlement for lying to their audience to keep their audience. Isn't it amazing how that works out? And all they have to give, aside from the money, which is a small portion of the money they bring in, is they put out a little statement. We acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards. We are hopeful that our decision to resolve this dispute with Dominion amicably instead of the acrimony of a divisive trial allows the country to move forward from these issues. And I think that makes sense. Nothing reflects a continuing commitment to the highest journalistic standards than having to pay the better part of $1 billion for all of the intentional knowing lies you told your audience to con them into still supporting you. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about here. Just initially though, Jayar, they settled, we're not gonna get the trial, we're not gonna get the testimony, what do you think?
Oh yeah, this is the way this approaches. Look at that statement. The very first thing that Fox said, we acknowledge the court's rulings. I mean, I think some people read that as, oh, they've admitted that they lied. No, we acknowledge the court's rulings. We know this, this lawyer speak that they're going through about this to keep themselves out of actually saying what it is that happened, how it happened, and why it happened. So basically, at this point, John, this whole thing, Fox has turned Dominion into Roman Reigns because all they've done is acknowledge me, and that's it. That's all they need. Move on.
We are not going to have a single Big News Wednesday without a reference to the WWE from now on.
Is it true though?
Yeah, no, it is basically true in a form. So not only do they get to put that out, literally not having again to acknowledge the individual claims, but literally using the statement to imply that they're the most reputable news. In addition, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Jeanine Pirro, Maria Bartiromo will not be required to issue retractions or make any statements about it whatsoever. Davis ruled that all of those hosts broadcast falsehoods about Dominion, but it doesn't matter. They don't need to say anything to their audience. And spoiler alert, everybody, but they're not gonna say anything, nothing accurate anyway, about what happened because it's not court ordered. So if they say anything, and they probably won't, it'll be a pack of lies. They're especially not gonna have to actually go on the stand and respond to direct pointed questions at risk of perjury about the very damning statements that we've gotten from their text messages. Now look, a lot of you are probably as depressed about this outcome as I am, but I will remind you that as sort of a consolation prize, because unfortunately that's about all it's gonna be, we'll always have those texts. We'll always have demonic force. We'll always have, I hate you passionately. We'll always have, I just can't wait for Biden to be inaugurated from Tucker Carlson. So we can throw that in his face, to his tweets and stuff like that. It's not gonna have any effect on his audience. These people have long since self-selected to love being conned by the media, by politicians. There's nothing they love more than being swindled. And a lot of people, I think, are rightly depressed that we're not gonna have that testimony. Even Gretchen Carlson tweeted, please Dominion, do not settle with Fox. You're about to prove something very big. Reminder, she received a $20 million settlement and a public apology after accusing Roger Ailes of sexual harassment. You might get that mixed up with the other sexual harassment scandals that Fox has been involved with. There's been a lot because it's a disgusting den of misogyny. So those sorts of things are gonna happen. But anyway, Jayar, I really just wish that we were gonna get the Tucker Carlson. I wish that we were gonna have Jeanine Pirro get poured into the witness seat and have to respond to some questions. Maria Bartiromo having to be asked about her own EP, saying that she should literally never be on television. But unfortunately, it's not gonna happen.
At this point though, you have to ask yourself, what is it that would actually sway some of these Fox viewers to actually think differently or understand what is it how they're being used? Because look, if those folks came on trial, look, Donald Trump wanted a mugshot to be circulated when he was getting his arraignment there for his charges. So it's almost like the worst things that happen to these folks, they've been so brainwashed. The worst thing that happens to their deities at Fox News, they'll probably support them even more. Oh, can you believe that Maria Bartiromo had to admit on the stand she was lying to us? That actually everything that she was saying and everything that they were supporting from top to bottom with all of these nighttime news folks, all of it was a lie just to make more money off of us? Yes, like it's the upside down world, bro. They'll hear that Fox makes hundreds of billions of dollars, and then every year at least makes these several billion, and then have to give up 787 million, and that's kind of it. And it's the price of just lies and propaganda. Will that be enough? Hell no. Because even though Fox isn't talking about this, they're hearing that this is happening, and then it's swept under the rug like, oh yeah, this is just them coming after Fox. And it starts and it ends there. They've got them in this box. It's gotta be the most accepting propaganda group in history. This is worse than any other previous group in history that's been fooled into believing that they're not shooting themselves in the foot, and they will do it till the ends of time.
Look, I definitely think that you're right. Even if, again, Tucker Carlson's lawyers have already said that he openly lies to his audience, and that did not convince anyone. So I think you're right. They would have found a way to be like, no, they just had to say that because the deep state is doing it or whatever. To your question, what would it take for them to turn on them? Well, we're in this really sick situation where we already know the answer to that. I don't need to come up with the answer. Fox came up with the answer. What was going to cause their audience to turn from them was to stop conning them, stop lying to them, and they will freak out. Like an equivalent would be if Scientology, don't sue me, if Scientology were to be like, okay, everybody, we have a big announcement to make. Look, we love you guys and we really hope that you stay, but all the stuff where you grab onto the thing or whatever, that's not scanning anything. That was all made up. But don't just say, we want to be honest with you because we respect you. We're not going to lie to you anymore. That would cause many to leave. That would be the only thing. Like, this is how powerful the propaganda is that these people are not like, they're not being lied to and just waiting to learn what is true. They want to be lied to. That's why they're listening in the first place. All of this is just a convenient get out of thinking free card, get out of critical thought card, get out of having to consider the feelings of other card. They are being supplied with a placid, comfortable mental state, a feeling of superiority, of infallibility. That is what they are being given, and that's what they want. They care about that. They don't care about any of the supposed facts that go into it. Facts about voting machines or caravans or anything like that. They don't honestly believe that it's true. They just like having people say it. And now I want to turn to what they will get from the audience. You might think that Fox News settling with Dominion would be big news. And in some places it is. We're talking about it here. It was talked about in most news outlets, but you know where you weren't gonna hear much about it? Fox News. They covered it 3 times. I'll remind you, they're a 24-hour-a-day news network. In about 4 hours after the settlement became public, they covered it for a combined 6 minutes of coverage. It was nearly $800 million, the settlement. They couldn't get a minute per 100 million. For most of the day, they were talking about other things far more important, like illegal immigration always, or COVID-19's possible origins. Also on their website, because they have that too, it's not just the news network, it's website too. They published one story on their homepage more than an hour after the settlement was announced. It included the network's official statement and called the lawsuit media fodder. By Tuesday evening, the story was ranked around the 30th position on the homepage. Because they don't care about it, and I don't doubt that they would juice the numbers of the algorithm or whatever for the rankings, but I also think that might be legitimate. I think tons of Fox viewers, if they even saw the headline at all, were like, that's gonna make me uncomfortable. I'm not gonna expose myself to that. I did go to foxnews.com to have reality intrude on my day. What do you think, Jayar?
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. Look, I was thinking about Neil Cavuto. I want to make sure I remembered him correctly. He spoke out once about his COVID diagnosis. I believe he got it twice. And the second time he said it damn near killed him. And without the vaccine, he would be dead right now. This dude got pushed back. He got fired. Neil Cavuto's probably some death threats tossed in here and there. Ironically, when he's barely survived. Oh, we're gonna kill you for this. Again, nothing that's independently seen by me that he got death threats, but we know how these things work. That's the response they'll get when a smidgen of truth is inserted into any of their news broadcasts. It's how dare you? You don't belong on Fox News. I've perused some of the comment sections on some of these stories just to see what the viewers are thinking, see if they've had any kind of awakening. And it's always, what are you doing this on Fox for? It's explicit. This is Fox. We don't come here for truth. And they know it. That's just the way this is here. There's this significant portion of people that are okay with being lied to their faces. And if you give them any truth, they're all like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm supposed to go for other locations to bash Fox News, which I think is where even other conservative networks, they want nothing to do with this.
Yeah, there has never been a safer space than Fox News. That is all it has ever been designed to be. Now, it's designed to do other things, make sure that taxes are lowered, there's no regulations on corporations and everything, but it is designed to be a swaddle for the conservative mind that just makes you feel warm and held. That's all it's supposed to be. Reality has no place. But as you point out, Newsmax and OAN haven't mentioned this. Isn't that interesting? They know that Fox was actively lying to their audience, specifically so that Newsmax and OAN wouldn't gain their audience. Why wouldn't they mention anything about that? Well, they're also facing their own lawsuits when it comes to Dominion, because remember that for however deranged the lies on Fox News were, they were worse on Newsmax and OAN. That was the whole issue for Fox. Newsmax, by the way, put out a statement saying that they believe that the facts at issue in Dominion's case against us are materially different from those that may have driven Fox to settle, and no conclusion about Newsmax should be drawn from that settlement. You had the same sentient pillow man on. You had the same people, you told the same lies, probably more of them and for longer. So I guess it's different, but not in a way that's probably gonna save you. OAN did not respond to a request for comment. That was probably wiser, I would say. There are still other lawsuits facing Fox News, including ones that are at least at face value pretty similar to the one that they just settled. So you have, let's see, a historically large settlement like this from Fox could lead to shareholder lawsuits. So shareholders, obviously they have a financial interest in the future of the company. They could say that, sure, this is good for your hosts or whatever that you settled, but you just paid $787 million. I think that if you'd taken this to trial, maybe you wouldn't have had to pay anything. You just severely harmed the financial state of the company for no reason, so they could potentially sue. I don't know how likely that is to work. After all, to the extent that I've ever invested, I'm not in the capacity where the company would listen to my concerns, but that is something that is out there. By the way, they're still being sued by Smartmatic. So Dominion and Smartmatic were both attacked in sort of similar ways. They're both companies involved in election software and hardware. They put out a statement, by the way, saying Dominion's litigation exposed some of the misconduct and damage caused by Fox's disinformation campaign. Smartmatic will expose the rest. Smartmatic remains committed to clearing its name, recouping the significant damage done to the company, and holding Fox accountable for undermining democracy. By the way, while the $1.6 billion that Dominion was asking for is a lot of money, Smartmatic is asking for $2.7 billion. And their suit counts Giuliani as a defendant. It has a separate lawsuit against Sidney Powell for jurisdictional reasons. And if I remember correctly, I could be getting this wrong. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, but if I remember correctly, I think Smartmatic was only used in like 2 counties or something, whereas Dominion was a little bit broader in where it was used. So if you are alleging that the election was stolen by one of these companies and you're telling the same sorts of lies about a national company versus one that only had like 2 counties where it was operating, then that's even more deranged and seemingly obviously not true. Also, you have Abby Grossberg. So she has her lawsuit about not just the toxic environment that they have at Fox, but remember, it's also about they're trying to influence her testimony when it comes to the Dominion lawsuit. So there's a lot of lawsuits still out there, Jayar. I don't know. Do you have any hope? Where are you at right now?
I'm gonna let you guess where I think this is gonna go. I think these other lawsuits will be significant in the grand scheme of significance of lawsuits and what they're gonna be culpable for and all that. But as far as changing some of the thought processes or the loyalty people have for this network, I don't think so. These are gonna be seen as small fragments that come off. And oh yeah, it's Smartmatic, that other company. Who knows? It's little frill lawsuits, or these other folks that were disgruntled former employees, whatever. Oh, you mean those shareholders? We don't know who those guys are. Whatever. It's money people making money moves, and it's just gonna kind of get forgotten. I'm only going off of that compared to how much people are actually paying attention to this and being serious about it. Yeah, it's all just folks that are against Fox News, but I'm looking for the people who've somehow been fooled into believing that they tell you the truth to see some of this, and that's the problem. I don't think we're gonna see much of. But also one last thought: will Smartmatic, if they get Fox News by the in the same way that Dominion had them, will they see the way that the response to Dominion settling was kind of seen as, yo, why didn't you get this further? Maybe they can see it and go, yo, we want to make sure that they actually say this on air. I don't know if they are going to have that kind of leverage on them, but if they do, maybe they should see it.
Look, I think a lot of people want that. I think from a company's point of view, they want to get paid.
Yes.
Dominion got more off of this than they'll make in years and years and years of actual operations. I think Smartmatic is gonna be like, okay, maybe we can get 887 million, or maybe we can get 300 million. But regardless of which it is, it will still be, to take us back to the beginning, cost of doing business. Like I would love to, again, at this point, it's not up to the jury and it's not up to the judge because they settled. They didn't get to actually decide. But if I could like have a little heart to heart, I'd be like, so in what way does this lead to them being less likely to lie in the future? They have now been told that even if the impossible happens and everything lines up in the early stages of the trial where this doesn't get dismissed, and Fox is way more obvious about what they're doing than they will ever be in the future again. They're not gonna be sending text messages like that back and forth. They're gonna be meeting in person and making sure that there's no paper trail. Why would they be less likely to lie in the future? Even if all of that went wrong again, they lose 7% of their profits, but they continue to grow and they continue to go. Why wouldn't they? This is going to lead to more lying from them. That's the precedent that's set. And again, the jury and the judge didn't get to weigh in the end, but from the point of view of, a person who wants democracy to function and thinks that the media, the true media, has an important part to play in that, then this is not a good day.
But once you have birth control and abortions and whatnot, now you can still satisfy the limbic instinct, but not procreate. So we haven't yet evolved to deal with that, because this is all fairly recent, the last 50 years or so, for birth control. So I'm sort of worried that, hey, civilization, if we don't make enough people to at least sustain our numbers, perhaps increase a little bit, then civilization is going to crumble.
Now, I understand that some of you who might not be familiar with Elon Musk and what he gets up to, you might see the confident way that he delivers that thought. You might look at the look on Tucker Carlson's face as if he's never heard anything more intelligent than the absolute drivel that he's hearing right there. But I need to remind you, lest you become one of the sad online people who believe that that guy's a genius, that all of that was utter and absolute nonsense. Birth control, yes. Hormonal birth control is relatively new. But I'm gonna blow Elon Musk's freaking mind right now. People have been doing stuff to control whether they get pregnant or not for a little bit longer than 50 years. It actually goes quite a ways back, dude. You should look into it. Take a look at this picture. This is a 13th century illuminated manuscript featuring an herbalist preparing a concoction containing pennyroyal, which can lead to miscarriage for a woman. There were a few other ways that they did it too. People found a way, is what I'll say. More importantly, Elon Musk has long been obsessed with the idea that if the population doesn't continue to rise, that will be the end of civilization, which you could potentially have an intelligent conversation about. He has never been a part of that intelligent conversation. The way he talks about it is the way a capitalist would talk about worries of potentially there being fewer workers to compete with each other, so maybe labor would gain some more power. But at the end of the day, the reason I wanted to start, out of all the stuff that Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk got up to, the reason I wanted to start with this was Elon Musk talks about every single topic with the exact same level of confidence. And I need you to know, and I don't begrudge you the possibility that you might be ignorant of this, because most people can't follow the news every day. They can't follow everything that Elon Musk gets up to. They don't know everything about his past. But I need you to understand, he has no expertise in anything having to do with human reproduction, population, anything like that. And that is true for most topics. We're gonna talk about AI and everything. He helped to found OpenAI. That has led some people to believe that he's typing away at a computer training AI models. He's involved in Tesla. He didn't even found that. That has led many people to believe that he's like Tony Stark in a garage putting together batteries and stuff. He doesn't have training in almost any of this, so please take with a massive grain of pennyroyal anything you hear coming out of his mouth. Jayar, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's his cadence or the choice of words he uses, but has people fooled into thinking he knows what he's talking about. Again, as you pointed out. But then again, you went back a little bit further. These methods of potential birth control, even things like abortion. These Christ-like figures, as they like to call themselves. Apparently, I haven't read the Bible because there's verses in the Bible about I guess, an unfaithful woman, and the punishment that comes with that is miscarriage, forced miscarriage, which would not result in this procreation of humans. As a matter of fact, it's Numbers chapter 5, verse 27 and 28, if you'd allow me to read. If she's made herself impure and been unfaithful to her husband, this will be the result. When she's made to drink the water that brings a curse and causes bitter suffering, it will enter her. Her abdomen will swell and her womb will miscarry, and she will become a curse. Odd how that works. But verse 28, if however the woman has not made herself impure, but is clean, she will be cleared of guilt and will be able to have children. So it sounds like it's based off of whether or not you're impure or not, whether or not you should be able to have children. It was just the law. Whether or not you believe that that's the Bible endorsing this practice, it's mentioned. It's something that far back that humans have been doing. But we're gonna try and convince people to think just because I'm Elon Musk and I talk like an idiot, that somehow what I'm saying makes some kind of sense. Because it just happened in 1970. When are we gonna stop listening to this guy? He knows nothing.
I think that would be great. Look, there is a world in which he actually cared about the work or the inventions or whatever the hell it was that he was doing initially that helped him to take the large amount of money that he was given by his family and turn it into more money, and not become so obsessed with getting the most pathetic people on the internet to think that he's clever or whatever, that he could have just focused on what he knew, like designing apps or whatever. He was involved in some of that stuff back, around like the turn of the millennium and all that. But the fact that he's involved with SpaceX does not mean that he's designing rockets. I'm going to the companies of his that he still has. Have you been in one of his tunnels lately? Have you been in a Hyperloop recently? He's a genius after all, and he's definitely in charge of all of those things that he was talking a lot at one point. So where the hell are they? It's because it's not about him. It can't be because he doesn't know anything about it. These are complex things that involve tons of actual engineers and scientists. That's what I'll say. And in this area, people who care a little bit more about the actual individual's bodily autonomy that he gets to talk about in incredibly abstract terms, people for whom they're not so rich that they can just have 10 kids or whatever and not care about the financial consequences of that. I'm gonna focus on actual people's lives. With that said, he is going to turn to something that's a little bit closer to his wheelhouse, starting with this.
You think that's real? It is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off, and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, that's definitely the way things are headed, for sure. The things like say ChatGPT, which is based on GPT-4 from OpenAI, which is a company that I played a critical role in creating, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then that's basically where it ended, because again, he didn't train the AI. He started up his own AI company, notably like 3 weeks before he signed on to that letter saying that we desperately need to have a halt to AI development. Interesting. And the news only came out after that letter that he had signed this thing. Are there concerns about AI? Yes. Will you learn anything about those concerns or how we should handle it by hearing Elon Musk talk to Tucker Carlson? No. He asked him, will we reach a point where you can't turn it off? And he said, yes, that's the way it's going, which could be true. But it has all of the the technical rigor and scientific validity as a statement of any random person overhearing you talk about AI in a bar and saying, yeah, we're not gonna be able to turn it off. And for Tucker Carlson to then be like, oh, really? What do you think Elon Musk is doing? He's running Twitter and then theoretically putting a couple minutes a day into Tesla. He's not developing these things. Why is there no critical thought given whatsoever based purely on the branding of this guy as supposedly being a genius? I do think that we need to have a conversation about what role there is for government when it comes to AI, governments really, how much autonomy should be given to corporations. But the idea that you would take as the only perspective that matters a guy who is already trying to set himself up to make a ton of money off of AI, why would that be the guy that you would trust in this? Jayar.
It says a lot about our society. It says who we worship and why we worship them. He's got money, so therefore him making basic normal statements that any other idiot could make suddenly has more weight to it. We were just talking about procreation. Why does Elon Musk give a damn whether or not a bunch of folks are procreating at the rate that he likes? What is it about him that makes him be the arbiter of whether or not we're procreating enough for his vision of the future of the world? Who the F are you, Elon Musk, to be saying these types of things? We promote him because of money, perceived money. The same way we had perceived money of Donald Trump and promote him to this next stage. And look how much of an idiot he was and everything he did. But we never learn our lesson. We're slaves to whoever has the money. So if Joe Johnson in the middle of Maine wins the lotto a couple times and wins $100 million, or maybe wins the super lotto ball and wins $700 million, should we start listening to what he says because he's got some money in his bank account now? Hell no. But we promote certain people that are promoted, that are backed by other folks who want that message to then go out and then talk about how the rest of society needs to procreate to the rate so that I can continue to enslave you with my stupid ass businesses and underpay people and fire them at will at random reasons. That's the reasons why he's talking about this, and we're stupid enough to listen to it because of money, bro, that we give him.
Anyway, with that said, no more of this. We've got more AI coming up in the aftermath. AI not having to do directly with humans, at least, which I prefer. I want to turn now to a very different topic, an important update on something we were talking about earlier this week, starting with this.
Some of the same far-left voices who've attacked Senator Feinstein in the past are now suggesting that the Senate move her off the Judiciary Committee indefinitely. Indefinitely. The stated reason, the supposed emergency, is that Senate Democrats are unable to push through the small fraction of their nominees who are so extreme, and so unqualified that they cannot win a single Republican vote in committee. So let me say it again. The far left wants the full Senate to move a senator off a committee so they can ram through a small sliver of their nominees who are especially extreme or especially unqualified.
So that about Dianne Feinstein proves that Ro Khanna was right. Simply having her asked to be taken off of the committee is something that the Republicans would and did stop from happening. So Ro was right about that. But more importantly, that was Mitch McConnell being simultaneously incredibly honest, if you read between the lines, and incredibly dishonest if you don't, about why the Republicans have stopped Dianne Feinstein, who cannot do the work of being a senator on committee, let alone any other, from being replaced by someone who will. He's being obvious in that he's not even trying to hide that this is just a power play. They want to stop the replacement because they don't want judges going through. So he's being honest about that, as he always has. He wants judges to be confirmed when Republicans are in charge, and he doesn't when Democrats are. That's all it is. But then, of course, he's lying about they can't get one Republican vote because they're so extreme. Yes, that's why. That's an honest reflection of the current state of the Republican Party, that you would need a Democratic judge nominee to be super extreme to have all of the Republicans in lockstep stop them from being put forward. Merrick Garland was nothing. He was pudding soft, and they didn't put him on the Supreme Court. It has nothing to do with the nominees. By the way, Trump put forward a bunch of people who the Bar Association said weren't qualified to be in their positions, and Republicans didn't have any problem with that. So candidate quality is not an issue here. This is just them using the fact that Dianne Feinstein can't be there to vote as a way to stop Joe Biden from getting the judges that he is, as president, owed. What do you think?
It's pretty easy to see that. As you're talking about the lies, or at least the pushback and his assertions that it's all about these unqualified judges. All that is very obvious. It's transparent. But he talks really slow and he has gravel voice and he shows up there and then he's really boring. So most people would be like, oh, he's talking about some kind of Senate back and forth, who knows? But yeah, Dianne Feinstein isn't there, and we didn't really hear what Mitch McConnell's saying. You know, that's Mitch McConnell said in the past is his number one purpose, especially when Trump was in office, was to get through as many judges as possible so they can control our legal system and the way laws and the challenges to their horrible laws are actually made. He said it openly. Anything else Mitch McConnell talks about, he absolutely can't stand Donald Trump, but he needed him there so he can push through as many judges as possible. That's what they did agree on. He'll take all of the slams and the accusations and the racist things that are said about his wife from Trump. He'll take all that. The most important thing to Mitch McConnell is these judges. And as you can see, these ones that are placed in these very high positions all the way up to the Supreme Court, there's a reason why, and you can see it. This is all he's about, man. It's obvious.
Yeah, it's again, like he's willing to admit that. He does a little bit of cover about it, but it is incredibly obvious. I'm gonna turn to one other aspect of this though, because I think it's really important before we end this segment. The Republicans are not allowing Dianne Feinstein to be replaced on the Judiciary Committee because they don't want Democrats to get judges. So we get that. And we know that anything else that they say about this is gonna be BS. But get a load at what some of the female Republican senators are saying to cover for this obvious power play. Joni Ernst says, to me, it's ageist and it's sexist. If I were a dude, would they be saying you need to step down or you need to recuse yourself from a committee? Marsha Blackburn says, I don't know if it's age discrimination, sex discrimination, but we do know they wouldn't do it to a man. So having two Republican senators who are women, who are surrounded by the misogyny of their colleagues on a daily basis and know how honestly misogynistic American politics is, use faux concerns about sexism to justify the anti-democratic power play that they're doing is just like chef's kiss if you don't care about what happens in America. Dianne Feinstein requested to be taken off. So they're saying they need to tell the woman, no, you don't get to decide whether you're taken off the committee because you deciding to leave would make it sexist is honestly a level of absurdity that I didn't think we'd get to. I would have assumed that they just wouldn't have said anything at all. But this is amazing. What do you think, Jayar?
Ask them how they feel about John Fetterman from the moment that he was elected. When he was in that debate and he was still recovering from the stroke and he was having trouble putting sentences together. Ask them how they felt about that and if it was a matter of whether or not he should be in office because they didn't feel he could do the job. Is he a woman? I thought it was the Republicans who were talking about how Democrats have a problem deciding what a woman is. But apparently they do, because when they are going hell-bent on pushing back on John Fetterman serving, which we're gonna talk about later, maybe there's some validity to wondering if someone can do the job for unforeseen circumstances. Ask them if that's a woman or a man thing, because they're definitely coming after him. Somebody should ask them a direct question, see what they have to say.
Now, thankfully, I'm gonna close with this. Thankfully, there is still pressure for her to formally resign and be replaced immediately with someone who's gonna be hopefully far more reflective of California voters, although it's gonna be up to Gavin Newsom, so we'll see how far that goes. But here's a little bit of Congress people. This is Jamal Bowman, AOC, on Feinstein.
Yes, she's had a very long and stellar career, but missing that many votes, stopping us, it stops us from moving forward with judge nominations.
No, I think this is something that is, it is unfortunately something that I think it is appropriate to consider in this sense.
Than I would be were I them, but I understand that they're gonna be hit with all sorts of accusations of ageism and sexism. So I sort of understand that, but the pressure needs to mount. There's lots of judgeship. These are in some cases like many year or lifetime appointments, like they need to go through. It's incredibly important. It's owed to Biden as president. So hopefully they increase the pressure. With that said, we're
sorry, last thing. When it comes to say some woman has a pregnancy leave or maternity leave and people get fired over that stuff, or sick leave, and regular folks, think about how many Republicans fight for those people. When you're talking about people getting ousted from their jobs for their medical conditions. See if they really give a damn about that stuff.
A man has been arrested after shooting two Texas cheerleaders, one critically, after one of them mistakenly got into the wrong car. Peyton Washington, we can put up a picture right here, was a cheerleader that was critically injured and is stable in the ICU. That is the good news in this story, and it is the only good news in this story. This is the suspect, Pedro Rodriguez Jr., 25-year-old, now been charged with deadly conduct, a third-degree felony. I suppose the fact that he was promptly charged is the second bit of good news, and we can't take that for granted in America when someone needlessly shoots multiple people. What happened here is that Lynn Shearer, owner of Woodlands Elite Cheer Company, said that the cheerleaders typically carpooled from the Austin area to her gym for their training. On Monday night, she said at least 4 cheerleaders were on their way back to Austin and they had to stop at an HEB, that's a Texas supermarket chain, where some of the members had parked their cars. One of the girls accidentally tried to get into the wrong car. That's when she said, quote, a guy got out and they saw that he had a gun. And so they tried to speed off and he shot his gun like 5 times or so into the car. Heather Roth, one of the cheerleaders, said in an Instagram live post that she was the one who got out of her friend's car and opened the door of another vehicle she thought was her own, only to notice a man was in the passenger seat. She said she got out of the car and back into her friend's vehicle. Roth reportedly said the man approached their vehicle and she rolled down a window to apologize. That's when the man started shooting. And if this is reminding you of other news stories, it's because yes, we have had multiple days pass with people, including Ralph Yarl. We had a story yesterday, ringing the wrong doorbell, pulling into the wrong driveway, accidentally getting very briefly into a car, and then with no harm, no foul, leaving and trying to apologize. And unfortunately, we have a country that is so chock full of guns and terror that all of them resulted in shootings, none of them had to. In all of these cases, despite the fact that we've been told a million times during our life that we'll all be safer if only there are more guns around, literally the only thing that resulted in these stories being tragedies was the presence of a firearm. Every one of these stories could have been exactly the same, except the person didn't have a gun, and it wouldn't even be a story. We wouldn't have to be thinking about it. She wouldn't be in the ICU. Ralph Yarl wouldn't be, possibly looking at years or a lifetime of recovery. The woman in, I believe it was upstate New York, wouldn't have died. It was the guns that made them tragedies. That's what they're designed to do. Jayar, what do you think?
So this is the cheerleader that was sitting in the car because they had a carpool lot. They'd come in after this long practice. It's middle of the night, and she's dropping her friend off. The cheerleader that went to the wrong car got grazed by a couple of bullets. Sadly enough, the trauma she has to go through just from seeing that. So Peyton here, who was the victim, the one who was in the ICU over this whole thing, was sitting in the car. So to folks who maybe say like, yo, when you go up to the wrong car, that's the circumstance, that's the consequence, or maybe she should have been jiggling on someone else's car door. Even if it was a mistake, because we never know, what should Peyton have done? Sit there, wait for her friend, and then when somebody approaches, when she has no idea why her friend is running back to her car going, I'm sorry, I had the wrong car, and then get shot multiple times and is gonna have to get parched over, spleen removed, and all these things that are happening to her. What should she have done in this country? Someone like Charlie Kirk has an answer, and he said it before. We just have to have some of y'all die for the fact that I get to worship my guns. That's the answer. There's no other answer. So anything else you hear when it comes to maybe you should have done this, maybe you should have done that, maybe you should have done the third thing, they don't mean any of it. What they mean is maybe you should just die because I gotta have my guns to defend myself from people who are doing nothing. Let me go ahead and just shoot them. And by the way, John, Ralph Yarl was Thursday last week. Kaylin Gillis was Saturday over the weekend, and this was Monday. It's every 2 days. These are the ones that we're hearing about.
That we're hearing.
Imagine how many we don't.
That's a great point. Yeah, I don't know because little stories like this could easily just be local or state news. It's possible that these last two were only news because of Ralph Yarl. That might be the only reason it was raised to a national level. That is a great point, Jayar. But I will suggest one other thing that I guess they were supposed to do according to everything that we've been taught. So if he's justified, and we'll see based on Texas's stand your ground laws, which by the way have been linked to something like 700 additional deaths each year after they're put into place. What they should have done is if he was justified in following them back to their car, cheerleaders, to shoot them because he was so threatened, well, they were being approached by a guy with a gun. They should have had a gun, and when he was walking towards them, they should have gunned him down because they were threatened more than he was. That's the cool thing about more people having guns. Guns are simultaneously the solution to being threatened and implicitly threatening. They justify their own use. The more guns around, the more shootings you have, the more guns you need because of all the shootings, and the more shootings you'll have because of all the guns. This doesn't make much sense from a human point of view, but if you sell guns or stay in power based on getting people to be terrified 24/7, then it makes a certain sort of sixth sense.
You know what we always sell it on is there's certain kinds of people that do this. The first one was a white guy for the young black teenager. Then it was a white guy and a young white woman with Gillis. And then it was a Latino guy with what appears to be a black woman or a mixed woman. So all this is, it seems like it just keeps crossing all these different boundaries of it's the people and it's not the guns. The guns are always the constant.
If you missed your first opportunity to buy one of Donald Trump's stupid NFTs, well, don't worry, he's got a second round that has unfortunately already sold out. So I guess you missed it again. Don't worry, he'll sell more. Here's how he announced it. I am pleased to inform you that due to the great success of my previously launched digital trading cards, I'm a Pokemon, we're doing it again. Series 2 available right now. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Have fun. And why wouldn't you have fun with a stupid JPEG of Donald Trump, I'm gonna say stealing the Liberty Bell? Why is he holding it? Where is he going with it? Put it back, you thief. Anyway, here's the cool thing about NFTs. If you do wanna own that one, you already do. Go back, pause, screen cap it. It's yours, free of charge. Anyway, we have other examples of these incredibly stupid, but I'll remind you, sold out NFTs. Take a look at this. I have to admit that I don't understand the desire to have an image of him hunting when he doesn't hunt, playing the guitar when he doesn't play the guitar, riding a motorcycle when he doesn't ride a motorcycle. He seems to like the idea of him being perceived in these cool ways, and yet with all of the resources in the world at his disposal, he hasn't chosen to live his life in anything approaching a cool fashion. I don't know, Jayar. Obviously there is a demand for these things. What do you think?
I love that you said he's stealing the Liberty Bell. That was fun because he was also talking about how these young folks are running up in the department stores and stealing refrigerators and air conditioning units. Yep. Somehow they can. I guess that's why he thinks they can just lug out refrigerators because he carries the Liberty Bell around like that.
It's Bell for my family.
He ended that whole thing by saying, "Have fun." So this is the same guy who's talking about how our country is going down because he's not in the White House. Look out there! I can't say the other N word. Nukes are coming for us. It's a constant drumbeat of how close to death and destruction the country is simply because he's not in office. So how can people have fun with these stupid ass trading cards if we're on the verge of death? Keep paying attention to where this roller coaster of emotions that they keep sending you on. Death, destruction, be afraid, shoot, shoot, shoot. Have fun, everyone. Which one is it, bro? Should I have fun or should I be prepared for the apocalypse?
It's 6 days after the fall of man. I've got my AR-15 and my Trump card where he's playing the tuba. I got everything I need, baby. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We have to go slightly over though, because I have to explain the other just awesome part of this story. So it's not enough for Trump that doing no work whatsoever, he's gonna make $1 or $2 million off of this or whatever. And why shouldn't he? Someone else generated some images in Midjourney. Why shouldn't he make $1 million? But that said, that's not enough for him. He bleated, I hope everyone notices, and I'm sure the fake news won't, that I'm leaving the price of the trading cards the same as last time, even though they're selling for many times more. It's called the market, and sold out almost immediately because I want my fans and supporters to make money and have fun doing it. I could have raised the price much higher, and I believe it still would have sold well with a lot of money coming to me, but I didn't choose to do so. I will be given no nice guy credit. Well, it's a good point. He could have priced them up. He could have done things that affected the prices. What if he already did though? Because despite him being a nice guy and wanting his fans to make money, it turns out that him releasing those had an effect. Specifically, the launch appears to have cratered the secondary market price for the original Trump NFTs, which started at nearly $835 late Monday. They dropped 50% in a matter of hours. So the people who initially bought those might have made money. That's how cryptocurrency works. You pawn it off on someone else to make money, but the money comes from someone else being the dupe holding it when the market craters. That's the whole thing, and it just happened. So you missed your opportunity to buy the Series 2, but don't worry. You would have made some money maybe if you bought them and then sold them, but as soon as he launches a third set, which he's totally gonna do because it's easy money, those are gonna be cratered as well. Thankfully for Trump, there's always a new rube. That is unfortunately all the time we have for the first hour of the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us if you're on the linear platforms or on the podcast. As always, we appreciate your support. More to come in the aftermath, though, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Iadarola. I'll see you soon.